the question, why be Jewish? To be Jewish means to be different. Why should I be different? And you know something? We do not have a history of asking that question. For most of Jewish history, nobody ever asked, why be Jewish? Why be Jewish? Because your parents were Jewish, your grandparents were Jewish, your Bubba and Zeta and their Bubba and Zeta were Jewish. What choice did you have? That's who you were. But today, when you can choose to be anything you choose to be, today we have to ask and answer that question. And the real problem with asking and answering that question is that classically there is only one answer. It goes, Asher b'chabanu mikol ha'amim, or Ata b'chatanu mikol ha'amim, you chose us from all other peoples, you loved us, the concept of chosen people. Why be Jewish? Because that's what we were chosen to be. Now, if there is one phrase you cannot use in polite society nowadays, it's chosen people. Have you ever used that phrase in non-Jewish company? You can't use it. It's racist, it's supremacist, it's every ist you can think of. It's politically incorrect, as politically incorrect as it gets. So we had to sit and wrestle, and it took us years. How can we get the concept of chosen people into people's minds in a way that is not profoundly offensive to our modern sensibilities as liberal Democrats? And in the end, after at least 5 years of intellectual searching, we came up with an answer. It is a phrase. I used it in one of my books, and I later used it as the title of another book. The phrase, the dignity of difference. I said, the Bible begins not with Jews, not with Israel, but with humanity. Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, Noah and the flood, Babel and its builders. And it's only with chapter 12 that God tells Abraham to go and start a new way of serving God. And the way I put it was this: Judaism is a protest against empires, against the attempt to impose a single truth on a plural world. And as a protest against the first empires, and the first empires were Abraham's Mesopotamia and Moses' Egypt of Ramses II, the first empires in all of human history. Judaism came along and God said to Abraham, go you and be different, to teach humanity the dignity of difference. And if you say everyone is different, that's the truth. Everyone is different. But Jews were the only people who throughout history stood firm on the principle of the right to be different, the duty to be different, the dignity of difference. We were the only people who throughout history refused to convert to the dominant religion or assimilate to the dominant culture. But why? To teach humanity the dignity of difference. In technical language, we universalized particularity. It was a paradigm shift, a new way of thinking about Jewish identity that was incredibly inclusive. And because I didn't know whether it would work, I road tested it. Every year, Elaine and I give a reception and we do a study session with the leaders of the National Union of Students. You know, there's a lot of anti-Israel activity on British campuses, and we want to have students, that is non-Jewish students, on our side. So each year we make a special fuss and we cultivate the leadership of the National Union of Students, almost none of whom are ever Jewish. And we sit and we befriend them, we give them a reception, we learn with them. And so for 2 years in a row, I tested out on them, non-Jews, all of them, the concept of dignity of difference. And I watched the impact of that phrase on that group, some of whom were Muslims, some Hindu, some Sikh, some from the Caribbean, all sorts of colors and ethnicities. And I saw them listening to that session and walking out of the room an inch taller. And you could kind of see what they were saying to themselves. We always knew we were different, but until now, we thought that was a bad thing. And here's the chief rabbi telling us it's a good thing. And believe it or not, the students, the non-Jewish students, took a sentence out of my book, Dignity of Difference. They wrote it on a plaque. And if you go today to the Students' Union in London University, on the outside wall by the front door, there is a plaque with that quote from The Dignity of Difference in my name. In other words, we found a way of making being different acceptable in the language of today. We had to do that, or I believe we would never have been able to answer the question, why be Jewish?